What if I told you Blackbeard is still the main villain? We just learned Shirahoshi is talking to Loki through the Den Mushi and their father's relationship exposed, and with Blackbeard kidnapping her for her secret power that most likely lead to Luffy destroying Fishman Island, like predicted by Madame Shirley. And after Elbaf, we're about to see some insanity, and the fact Imu's on Elbaf panicking over the Holy Land being on fire, and Vegabunk's message has turned the world upside down as Dragon makes his move too. After Shanks got 3 road poneglyphs and Blackbeard also got 3 road poneglyphs, the official battle royale that was previewed on Egghead Island in that significant panel with all the significant characters for the One Piece treasure will be beginning in 2026. Thank you, Oda, for the God Valley flashback because it made everything clear. Blackbeard is exactly who we thought he was, and I'll explain a bit more in this video. So like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to Marshall D. Teach, or should I say Davy D. Teach, otherwise known as Blackbeard, is the fact that Blackbeard was begging Whitebeard as an orphan to join the Whitebeard Pirates. Now you have to understand, we know Whitebeard had a lot of young guys on his crew that became division commanders. Marco, Jozu, even though Ace didn't join his crew as a kid, he still was a young guy that became a division commander. So we know the trope of Whitebeard being the father and their sons, but you have to look at Polo Graham and Marco, father-son relationship. And now here with, of course, Blackbeard and Rocks. Whitebeard was an original member of the Rocks Pirates from the beginning, and he was kind of like Rocks' right-hand man. That's why that iconic moment where Rocks is like, yo, Whitebeard, you don't have to do this. And Whitebeard's like, you know how much I owe you for all the drinks and all the entertainment that he's gotten as a Rocks pirate. Let's be honest here, Whitebeard's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll actually fight the world, which Rocks told him. Yeah, when Whitebeard's like, yo, what the hell's in front of us? He's like, yeah, that's the world. So I do believe Oda doesn't do things randomly, and Blackbeard begging Whitebeard to join his crew. Blackbeard didn't do that by accident. It was definitely intended, like everything Blackbeard does. Now, the next thing I have to talk about is Blackbeard not being able to sleep. Now, the reason why I think this is not random is because Buggy and Shanks, 2 future Yonko, are the ones who actually say it as youngins on the Roger Pirates. These guys are chilling with Roger, they're chilling with Rayleigh, they're chilling with Scarpa Gabon and Kozuki Odin, but they say that Blackbeard's the monster. He's the monster of them all because he can't sleep. In that 3-day battle and in their truce, Blackbeard never slept, he never rested. Now, obviously, it shows how much Blackbeard is different from your regulars, but you have to understand, we know Rocks was sleeping, so why isn't Blackbeard sleeping? Something happened to Blackbeard after God Valley that makes him different than even his father, Rocks. Everything's intentional with Oda, guys. One of the biggest mysteries during Marineford was Marco saying that Blackbeard's body was different, and I love how Oda ties in the loose ends during the God Valley flashback when we see that Blackbeard is a Davy clan member and that has ties to the Buccaneer race, so we know that Blackbeard's body is different. Now, of course, this still is a mystery to this day because it hasn't been confirmed as a fact, because you have to remember Blackbeard had the Yami Yami no Mi. It's super easy to say the reason why he's able to have 2 Delph is because his Darkness Delph that steals away Delph powers, but no, Marcus says no, the reason why he's able to have 2 Delph is because of his body. And that makes more sense because we know Saturn and the Gorosei, I think, confirmed that Blackbeard was the only man in the history of the One Piece world to have 2 Delph Fruits. Legendary figures like Imu, Joy Boy, Davy D. Jones, the Gorosei know these guys, but they never had 2 Delph Fruits, even the ancient giant from back in the day. So I do believe Blackbeard is special in the same way that Luffy's special, but Blackbeard's is more concrete than Luffy's, which is more inheriting wills. And that's the thing. People think that Blackbeard is inheriting Davy's dream. No, in my personal opinion, Blackbeard is not inheriting Davy's dream. He's putting it to action. Yes, he's a historian, and Whitebeard said it's not you. Roger's not waiting for you, even though Whitebeard knows the truth just like the Roger Pirate. So I do believe that Blackbeard is on the course of completing things that the Willie D does have details with, but I truly believe Blackbeard is not the one, the same way that Roger wasn't the one, the same way that Rocks wasn't the one, Garp wasn't the one, and all these previous Willie D members. It's not Blackbeard, it's not even Ace, it's Luffy. Now, another thing that I feel like is super intentional that we have to talk about is Blackbeard killing Thatch. You have to understand, Thatch is a crew member that actually wasn't there as an original Whitebeard pirate that we seen on Wano when the Whitebeard pirates first went there. So he's relatively a newer Whitebeard pirate. He's still been on the crew for a while. So you understand why Blackbeard was so easy to kill Thatch compared to if it was Marco or Jozu, who we know he hanged around more longer with. Now, I do want to say this, the fact that Blackbeard, I think Blackbeard would have killed anybody. It was Whitebeard, or if it was Thatch, he would have killed anybody because that's what his dream entails. A man's dream never dies. Your dream never dies because you never sleep. Now, I do want to say this, it's the Yami Yami no Mi. Blackbeard knows something. He learned something on Lelouch Kingdom or in his historian days, that the Yami Yami no Mi is the Delph fruit that he's been waiting for to before he starts his action. He's been on Whitebeard's crew waiting for this one Delph fruit. And you have to understand, it's not even a legendary Delph fruit, like Loki's, like Imu's, like Luffy's. So I do believe that the Yami Yami no Mi, this super intentional what he did, where did Blackbeard learn the secret of the Yami Yami no Mi? That it could even be connected to the Void Century, because we know Imu had his wanted poster there. Maybe because it's ties to rocks, but I think it's actually different. He had his wanted poster there because we all know Blackbeard's hiding the martial name. I think he had his wanted poster there because of his Delph fruit. Now, of course, Blackbeard does pretty much not give you the room to actually wonder when it comes to his connection to rocks. You know his ship is called the Saber of Sebek. So Blackbeard has already exposed that he knows of rocks and he's doing things because of rocks. And you have to understand, Blackbeard wasn't a baby, like 1 month-old baby. Yo. Blackbeard was a good, decent, I think 2 years old, maybe even 3 years old when, of course, the God Valley incident was happening, unlike Shanks, who was an actual baby. So I think Blackbeard does have some memory of the God Valley incident. You can see that he's staring at his father rocks in fear. And I honestly believe traumatic experiences do shape a human. I think Blackbeard was shaped by the God Valley incident. And I feel like that moment in between him joining the Whitebeard Pirates and him leaving God Valley is some of the most important things. And you have to remember, Blackbeard is an orphan, but his mother was on God Valley. You think his mother is not, before she dies, she's not going to tell him about rocks and about the storyline of that era? Blackbeard knows everything. And that's why he was praising Aokiji for defeating Garp, because he's like, yo, that's an insane feat, because he knows what Garp did on God Valley. And he knows now that Garp's there, he's going to have a conversation about his father. I can't wait to see all this come into place. Now, if you don't believe in the Saber of Sebek, you have to believe in the Pirate Island Beehive. Yes, Blackbeard, the Rocky Port incident, teaming up with Law and Kobe, gets to, of course, get taking over the Pirate Island Beehive, which previously belonged to Rocks. And guess who had it? Ochoku, who pretty much slimed out the Rocks pirates by handing Shaki up into the world government. Now you have to understand, Ochoku is one of the 6 legendary pirates that made a name for himself after God Valley. Roger, Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, Shiki, and Ochoku. He had a scar on his face, so we know that he did have a battle that disfigured his face after the God Valley incident. Ochoku is a very interesting character, but it's not random how Oda had Blackbeard come to Pirate Island. Blackbeard is going to talk about rocks with Ochoku, because Ochoku is an original rocks pirate, just like Shiki, just like Whitebeard, just like Stussy, and just like Ganzri. So I think there's going to be a lot of dialogue here. Actually, if you think about it, the only living original rocks crew member is Stussy and Ochoku, and Stussy's with Weevil. So maybe Weevil has something to do with a lot of things that's going to go on with Blackbeard. I don't know, but I just want to say that there's a lot of interesting things going on with Oda hyping up the Blackbeard-Sebek relationship, even before he revealed that Blackbeard was the official son of Rocks. And don't forget, when he reveals Rocks, he does say this is Blackbeard's father. It's a big deal. Let's talk about Monkey D. Dragon and Blackbeard. Even though we all thought maybe Monkey D. Dragon is the reason why Blackbeard actually made it off God Valley, it was actually the opposite, where Dragon was actually protecting his op in Figureland Shanks. But I want to talk about how Blackbeard went after Baltigo, Dragon's headquarters, and he has been running along with the revolutionaries in some sense. Now, I do want to say this, Blackbeard's a Willow member, Dragon's a Willow member. Blackbeard is the son of Rocks, Dragon is the son of Garp, that battle on God Valley, and Blackbeard knows Dragon's ties to Monkey D. Garp and Monkey D. Luffy, who he met pre-time skip. So this is not a random coincidence that Blackbeard, after Jesus Burger says, I found the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army, Blackbeard's okay, let's go attack, yo. I think Blackbeard is more motivated to attack, not because of the headquarters and the weapons, but more so the dialogue that can happen with him and Dragon. And we know Dragon's going directly against the world government, and Rocks is going directly against the world government, so he definitely respects what Dragon is doing. And I think an interesting dialogue between two characters with different ideologies. Now, during the time skip, we know Blackbeard fought Marco. Marco knows Blackbeard to a T, because since Blackbeard's been on the Whitebeard Pirates, White Marco's been there. And honestly, Josu's been there as well. Vista's been there as well. These are guys who rose up in the ranks of the Whitebeard Pirates. They were young kids when they first joined, and they became monsters by the time the Marineford War happened. So they had a vendetta against Blackbeard, and Blackbeard destroyed them in the Payback War. Now, I want to say this though, Whitebeard's best friend before God Valley was Rocks. That's just my humble opinion. And Whitebeard's best friend after God Valley was Polo Graham. Yes, Polo Graham, the same guy who was giving the works to Silrax. He is not a slouch. You know, Polo Graham never existed after that, so we know he either died or he, of course, was reborn through Marco. But I want to say, I think this battle between Marco and Blackbeard was destiny, and that's why Shanks asking him to join his crew gets more heightened after Marineford, rather than, of course, before, when, of course, Shanks and Whitebeard. But you know what's funny? Shanks is always mentioning Blackbeard in that exchange pre-time skip and the exchange post-time skip after Wano. So I think I love to see the Payback War and what actually happened. Oda's hiding it for a reason. Now, during pre-time skip, I think that Blackbeard did so many things intentionally. We know that Blackbeard, of course, he went up against Portuguese D8, but he actually wanted to go up against Monkey D. Luffy. Now, mind you, Luffy is the son and grandson of Dragon and Garp, God Valley characters. Ace is the son of Goldie Roger and Whitebeard, God Valley characters. So Blackbeard going up against these other two LOD members is just destiny, honestly, in my opinion. And I think that it's a really good sign of what happened in the Void Century. I think their ancestors went up against each other before they actually teamed up with the Willie D and the Davy clan and all the things that have been explained so far. Now I want to say that Blackbeard, of course, he does, of course, do everything intentional. And him going against Luffy and Ace coming out of nowhere. But of course, Ace was chasing him the entire time and then asking Ace to join him. He only asked Ace to join him because he knows that Roger and Rox were on the same side. I think that mom definitely explained, yeah, they are rivals, but they were going against Immu. And Blackbeard's like, yo, Ace, I know that what I did, but I can use you against my battle with Immu. That's the one thing you have to understand about Blackbeard, yo. His goal is not to go against pirates. His goal is to go against Immu. And defeating Ace, of course, this was intentional because he got a guy that had a 500 million berry bounty, brought it to the world government, and became a warlord. This is interesting because after this, he got a dangerous crew, including Shooty of the Rain. Shooty of the Rain, guys, was a guy who I truly believe is a monster. And now he has the invisible Dufford as well. And he saw how he stabbed Garp in the Aokiji battle. That was the game changer for that Garp versus Aokiji battle. Now I want to say this too. Remember when Saturn saw Katarina Devon and said, whoa, why are you going with Blackbeard? Saturn is still confused that Katarina Devon, a legendary level 6 prisoner, is going with Blackbeard. This to me shows that Blackbeard is very intentional, and everything he did, like Shooty the Rain said in Marineford, if Blackbeard wasn't able to steal that Delph fruit, he would have never joined him. It's all on Blackbeard explaining the plan to his crew and them seeing the vision, because they don't like each other, but he explained the plan and like, okay, fine, we'll do it. Same way the Rox and how Rox explained to his strong members, yeah, just please just join us for a bit and there's gonna be a good outcome. And that's why God Valley, Rox got saved that Shaki was there, because if Shaki wasn't there, none of his crew members would have went to God Valley. It would have been a solo mission, and that would have been even harder for him. Now, I do believe Blackbeard and Aokiji's relationship does kind of remind me of Rox getting Whitebeard, because you have to understand, Blackbeard, strongest crew member now, is officially Aokiji. Like, you saw what he did against that Garp fight. Aokiji's a monster, former admiral, fought at Kano for 10 days. The Ice Delph fruit is super overpowered, super hacks, and now he's pretty much like the second strongest Blackbeard pirate. I know Shooty the Rain and Lafitte are like the wings to Blackbeard, but Aokiji is that strong, and Blackbeard only cares about strength. So I truly believe it's a very value member, but he's not going to be there to the end. Same way that Whitebeard wasn't there to the end when Blackbeard, when Rox actually clashed as Dami Reversi form with Whitebeard. And I truly believe same thing's going to happen here with Blackbeard Aokiji when Blackbeard goes apeshit crazy. Now, I do want to say this is kind of things we think. Maybe Aokiji is needed for the Gali Law that his father was so desperately searching for. We know they're frozen. Maybe Aokiji can unfreeze them. That's a theory. That's a Blackbeard Aokiji theory for you guys. Quickly, not like a 20-minute video like these other guys make. I give you guys 1 to 2 minutes of theories in these videos that you can ponder on. And then there's Blackbeard and Kozuki Moria. Yes, Kozuki Moria, the brother of Kozuki Oden. Who would have thought that Moria would be related to Kozuki Oden? That is just crazy. Kozuki clan, of course, have ties all the way to the Void Century, the Poneglyphs, and we know that Momonosuke has a voice of all things. Kozuki Oden has a voice of all things. Moria, of course, with his own similar pirate island, with of course Thriller Bark, where he had Captain John, Gang Zhui, Gil Bastar, Rox members. There's a reason why Moria wasn't killed by Blackbeard. Blackbeard sees value in Moria, and we might see some undead characters real soon. Real soon. Then of course there's Blackbeard and how the man marked by flames is introduced not only through Kid, Law, Luffy, and Robin after Wano, but also introduced through Blackbeard and Aokiji's conversations. The man marked by flames. And I believe it's a former Rox pirate. I think a former Rox pirate has the Poneglyph. Don't forget where the Poneglyph was. It was on Fishman Island. That was the one that's missing. We know Wano's never changed. We know Zoe's never changed. And we know when it comes to Whole Cake Island, that's always been a thing. Big Mom, of course, Roger said he went and sneaked in and took Big Mom's road Poneglyph. So I truly believe the 3 road Poneglyphs have been in the same spot the entire time. The 4th one has to be taken by a fishman, yes, because who else could take a Fishman Island Poneglyph? And I think that fishman is Barbell. Barbell to me is the strongest fishman at that era, even a bit stronger than Sunbell, the Roger Pirates. And I think that Barbell, maybe Sunbell's there too, but I think Barbell maybe was marked by flames during the God Valley incident. And of course, I do believe that he was causing the cyclones and everything of the black ship. I think it's Barbell, and I think Blackbeard's gonna see him, and he's the son of Rock, so there's gonna be a dialogue there as well. Let's talk about Blackbeard and Boa. Boa and Blackbeard's exchange was interesting because we know Boa is super overpowered. She's just one-shotting Blackbeard pirates left and right. Some top tiers too as well, like a Vasco shot, and of course got countering Devon. But the reason why I'm highlighting this is not that. It's not the fact that Blackbeard said if he let go of her, she would have one-shot him. No, it's not that reason. The reason is Blackbeard said he wanted Boa's Delphood for so long. Where did you see Boa's Delphood? Makes me think of this fact that Shanks was scarred right before the Fish of Tiger incident. So maybe Blackbeard was there in the Holy Land, and maybe Blackbeard, Boa, Shanks, there's all run-ins that could happen in the Holy Land, and I think that's where this plot line forms after Wano. I think everything Oda does ties together, and everything Blackbeard does is intentional. Remember, Blackbeard told Kobe that he wanted to become king of Pirate Island, officially a part of the world government. But he's doing it differently than Harold. Harold is pretty much doing it so desperate. Blackbeard is doing it more so conniving, like he did with the Warlord situation. And we've seen him doing it with, of course, Julie Bonnie. He's like, yo, get us a ship. It's a Kano, you're not getting a ship. And that's why he ducked and he dipped. I truly believe he wants to have close ties with the world government, the Gorosei, and get to Imu, the world, so he can actually get his revenge, Rox's revenge. Then, of course, there's Blackbeard versus Law. A battle that was pretty interesting, how Law was telling Blackbeard about how you guys all have devil fruits and there's weakness to it. But Blackbeard's like, yeah, but they're strong. And Blackbeard at the end of the battle is like, yeah, I want your devil fruit because I want to become immortal. Blackbeard knows the secrets of Law devil fruit that Imu has been using in the Void Century. So I definitely believe Blackbeard knows a lot of things that are taboo. And the fact that he knew this, the immortal surgery to be done on him, I think Blackbeard is one of the most intentional but cool characters as well. Then, of course, it gets even more spookier when we see Blackbeard's top guy in Von Augur. People don't know this, but Von Augur is actually one of Blackbeard's top guys, and he has a lot of aura post time skip with going one-shot and cracker biscuits in the anime, being with Aokiji and the teleportation he was doing there, and then of course with Katarina Devon and Saturn. Yes, during the Akad Island incident, the man was there and he told Saturn, what are you guys after? So when Saturn asked him, he said, we're after the world. Don't forget what the world is, that's Imu. And then, of course, Saturn gets touched by Katarina Devon. Her powers to change and morph to anybody, like we saw with Absalom. So we know that they're probably causing chaos right now in the Holy Land. And I can't wait to see that after this God Valley flashback ends. Then there's Blackbeard, Caribou, and of course, Katarina Devon saying that this guy knows something. Caribou has been with the Straw Hat Pirates for so long. We know he's had his run-ins, of course, with the Beast Pirates in Kaido. He was locked up, but he didn't want to give Kaido the information. He wants to give Blackbeard the information, and Caribou definitely is a son to Ochoku or something like that because he looks exactly like him. But I do believe Caribou is going to lead Blackbeard to Wano. I think Blackbeard's already in Fishman Island because of Caribou's information. I know Blackbeard is going to go to Wano too as well and try to get Pluton. Pluton is a big deal when it comes to the 3 ancient weapons. Imu has one. Blackbeard's trying to get one in Fishman Island. And I think that Wano one he wants to get as well. But Wano's going to be a little harder because the borders are closed. Then there's Blackbeard's top guy. I said Von Augur is one of Blackbeard's top guys. I said Shitty the Rain is one of Blackbeard's top guys. Jesus Burgess, Docu. You know who's actually Blackbeard's top guy? It's Lafitte. He had Lafitte go all the way to the Holy Land in the meeting where we saw Doflamingo, Sengoku, Dracula, Mihawk. He had Lafitte there to make Blackbeard a warlord. Lafitte is right now watching the ships be destroyed and the Celestial Dragon starve. I do believe Blackbeard, Lafitte, and Mary Jo's being on fire, and then Imu announcing it on Elbaf is all connected to Blackbeard's intentional full plan. And what do you think that plan is? Take a long, hard think about it. Yes, that's right. Blackbeard, the man who planned it all. And that's the man we saw in Jaya when he told Luffy a man's dream never dies and let them laugh. That was very inspirational for Luffy, and Luffy said it's not him, it's them. Many people believe Blackbeard has another entity in him. Maybe his father rocks, who knows? We know Blackbeard's body's different. Davy Clan, the Buccaneer, the Void Sentry on his back. I want to say this. When it comes to Blackbeard, we all know Luffy's destined to battle him. We know Blackbeard is destined to battle Shanks as well, and there could be a death of Shanks. And maybe even Imu. Yes, that's how hype Blackbeard is right now. Imu could die to Blackbeard. And I believe the only way to stop their mortal surgery could be to Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi. And then, of course, he has that final mythical zone Del Fruit, and he achieves the 3 Del Fruits. The Yami Yami no Mi Logia, the Gurgur no Mi Paramecia, and the legendary Del Fruit in Imus that he takes over from the first world. Yes, that mural we saw. Then we get that Nika battle, the 3rd battle where they finally meet Blackbeard and Imu's Del Fruit and Luffy and Nika. And then, of course, we have Loki and Shirahoshi. Shirahoshi being ancient weapon, Loki having the legendary Del Fruit. Is all going to tie into the first world flashback that even predates the Void Sentry. That's why Blackbeard is so important, because he ties the first world and the third world together. Yes, so I'm a big fan of Blackbeard being a final villain. More than Akainu, yes. Remember back in the days Akainu, Blackbeard, then Imbu took over? I think Blackbeard still has a chance. Yes, in that war after the One Piece is found, Blackbeard still could be there after the One Piece is found. I'm gonna leave you guys with one thing. Don't forget what Blackbeard told Luffy and Impu down. Sky P existed, right? The One Piece is the same. Blackbeard knows everything because his mother told him everything. Yes, I can't wait to see what Oda does. And One Piece is ending, guys. And Blackbeard is one of those central figures in that ending.